Hi guys, welcome to Little Wicket Railway. I'm Rob, and in this video we're looking at the brand new Flying Scotsman from Hornby. This is another model that was announced way back at the start of 2022, and it's taken over 2.5 years to arrive. Originally listed with an RRP of $272.99 when first announced, that's now gone up to $292.99, so an increase of £20 or just over 7%. But that's actually not too bad considering some other models have seen price increases between announcement and release of over 20%. At the retailers, this is selling for just under £264, so again, an expensive model from Hornby. But this model does have a few features which might justify that price. Firstly, it's pre-fitted with the new TXS Bluetooth Sound decoders, so that's worth between £50 and £60. Secondly, as you might have noticed from the packaging, this has got a steam generator fitted. And this was part of the reason I wanted to get the model, because I'm a sucker for a gimmick. This is what Simon Kohler had to say about the steam generator technology when it was first announced.
For me, what better way to add realism to any model railway scene than to have not only the mighty sound of a powerful locomotive, but also great clouds of steam billowing out through the locomotive's chimney as the model gathers pace. I am pleased, if not a little excited, to formally announce a first in the commercial production of a series of locomotives that not only have the sound of steam, but also steam itself. The new Hornby steam generator fitted locomotives can create great clouds of steam as a loco gathers speed, or just whisks as the loco sits waiting to move off. This is truly yet one more realistic and exciting dimension that can be brought to a DCC controlled model railway layout.
So Simon was pretty excited about it at the time, and I have seen them in action at exhibitions and they do look really good, so I can't wait to get that working. I'm interested to know how long the steam generator lasts before it needs topping up with water, whether the chuff sounds match up with the steam, and whether they've managed to sync it all up with the rotation of the wheels. A couple of other features which they're boasting about are a flickering firebox, which is pretty much standard on newer models, but also a die-cast running plate, which sounds like a quality feature and should help with the weight of the model. The last Hornby steam model I had was the Black 5, and I'll put a link to that review up here, but overall I thought it was overpriced and the quality didn't match up to the hype Hornby had built up around it. Hopefully this one will be better. Let's find out. So here we go. Most of my reviews these days, I don't bother doing this unboxing section because most of the packaging looks the same, the instructions are the same, and there's not really a lot to see. But I think it was worth doing for this one because it's a bit different. First of all, the packaging is a bit different. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like this. And secondly, it's got the steam generator in it. So I thought we might get some different stuff inside the box. And also, I thought the instructions are going to have to be different because it's going to have to tell us how to use the steam generator, so that would all be new to me, and I thought it might be interesting. So taking a look on the outside of the box, we've got the image of Flying Scotsman on the front, although having done the Black 5 review, I'm now hyper aware of the tender connection, and this looks like the old style connection, so I would be amazed if they haven't changed that to be the clip PCB connection. So I don't think this photo or this image can accurately represent what's in the box. At least I hope it doesn't. So maybe we shouldn't pay too much attention to this. Down here it says that it's DCC fitted and that it's a 21-pin decoder. Over here we know that it's got the HM7000, so these are the new Bluetooth decoders. And up here we've got this new steam generator logo, and they're clearly quite proud of this because they've not only stuck it on the front, we've got it on this side as well and on this end. And do you know what? I think that's clever marketing, because if I saw that in the shop as a kid, I think that would be the coolest thing in the world. So I don't blame them for putting it all over the packaging. And on this side, feel free to stop and pause and have a read, but we've got some history on the Flying Scotsman there as well, and a bit of information about the model. And then on this end, we've got the usual Hornby references. So I think this is Hornby reference R3991 SS, presumably stands for the steam generator and the sound fitted version. So let's get this open. It's a very tight fit. Come back to me once I've managed to actually open the box. There we go. Bit of foam on top. And then because I bought this from Derails, they always test the locomotives before they send them out, which is brilliant. So if it doesn't work, we've got Ollie to blame. Let's pop this out. And we do have quite a bit of information in here as well. So first of all, we've got this important steam generator information. So what's this saying? Whilst using the steam generator, please be careful not to overfill. The reservoir do not exceed the max capacity of 3 millilitres, and once filled, run the locomotive dry before attempting to fill with any more water to ensure that the 3 milliliter limit is not exceeded. So sounds like if you exceed that 3 milliliter limit, something terrible is going to happen. So maybe we don't do that. And then we've got two sets of instructions in here. So these ones look like the more this type of thing we've seen before, although it does say it's specific for the steam generator. So it shows you how to remove the tender. Disappointing that it does look like they still haven't found a easy way to install the decoder. Doesn't matter on this model because it's pre-installed, but it looks like you have to remove a screw and the coupling in order to take the tender off and get to that socket. But then at least it gives us a list of what the accessories are and tells you where to fit them, which is good. Looks like it comes with a crew. And here's the bit about filling the steam generator reservoir. So I'm holding this upside down so the camera can see it. It's not very easy for me to read, but I'll have a read of that before I attempt filling anything. And here I've just noticed that it does have the clip-in tender connection that we've seen on the Black 5, the more modern one. So that image on the front of the box is out of date. And then this seems to be a specific set of instructions to go with the steam generator, which is good. Again, very small and hard to read, especially upside down. So I'm going to have a read of that later. But it looks like we've got all the CV information for the decoder in there. And I can't read that, it's too small. I can see it's giving us some hints and tips for the steam engine driving. And on the back it's telling us maybe how we can play realistic sounds to make it quite authentic, which that's a nice bit of information, I suppose. But onto the model. Let's slide this out. And the first thing I've noticed, and something we don't normally get, is we've got this little packet here, which is presumably there to absorb moisture. So if you have got any moisture left in the model, presumably when you pack it away, this is going to absorb it. It's not some sort of fake coal load or anything. So I think that's there to act as an absorbent. We've got an accessories pack on top. So yeah, we do have a crew. Let me show you. We've got brake rigging, we've got the accessories, we've got some an axle in there with some wheels. Some more instructions on how to fit them in case it's not covered in the main instructions. We've got some pipe work. But it's good that they're selling them with crews these days. I think that is can't cost Hornby a lot, but I think it makes a big difference to the model with a crew fitted. Time to get this out then. So here we go. Here she is. There we are. What do you think? It does feel fairly weighty, but I'll get the scales out and confirm. So I've got the scales out. Let's turn them on and place this on. So that's just shy of 400 grams, so 397 grams, which isn't too bad really. Another thing is, whilst I was moving the packaging, I found this pipette, which is up to 3 millilitres and presumably used to fill the steam reservoir. So quite easy to miss because it was just tucked inside the clear packaging, and being clear itself, if you were opening this in a hurry to get to the locomotive, you might miss it. Anyway, I'm off to take some photos of this so we can look at it in a bit more detail. Whilst I'm doing that, here's some history on the Flying Scotsman. The Flying Scotsman, a London and North Eastern Railway 462 Pacific steam locomotive, was built at Doncaster Works in 1923. Designed by Sir Nigel Gresley as a Class A1, it was initially numbered 1472. In 1924 it was renumbered to 4472 and was named after the famous Flying Scotsman express train service between London King's Cross and Edinburgh. In 1928 it completed the first ever non-stop Flying Scotsman service, and in 1934 the Flying Scotsman locomotive was the first steam locomotive to officially reach the speed of 100 miles per hour. In 1947 the loco received upgrades and was reclassified to an A3, and a year later was renumbered as 60103 when British Railways was formed in 1948. In the late 1950s, the loco was fitted with a double chimney and smoke deflectors to improve performance and reduce smoke obscuring the driver's view. The Flying Scotsman was retired from regular service in 1963 after covering over 2 million miles. It was saved from being scrapped by railway enthusiast Alan Pegler, who bought it and restored it for use on mainline rail tours. In the late 1960s, the locomotive toured the United States and Canada to promote British exports, and in 1988 it embarked on a tour of Australia, where it set a world record for the longest non-stop run by a steam locomotive of 422 miles. The tours were financially challenging, leading to the locomotive being sold several times. It was purchased by Pete Waterman and later by Dr. Tony Marchington, who undertook extensive overhauls in the late 1990s. In 2004, it was purchased by the National Railway Museum in York, ensuring its future preservation. From 2006 to 2016, the locomotive underwent a major £4.2 million restoration before it was returned to service. And today, the Flying Scotsman operates on heritage railways and special mainline excursions, remaining an iconic symbol of British railway heritage. And here's the model. Whilst it does have some new modern features such as the tender connection, the flickering firebox and the steam generator, I don't actually think this tooling is all that new. I'm prepared to be corrected, but I think this tooling is from the mid-2000s and was part of Hornby's super detailed offering. So whilst it's not brand new, it should still be pretty good, especially to justify the price tag. The model comes in the BR green livery with running number 60103 and the early BR emblem on the tender, which is how it would have appeared in the mid-1950s. The livery has been applied really well on the model, and we've got the fine orange and black lining on the tender, cab sides and the bands around the boiler. In terms of other printed detail, we've got the Flying Scotsman name on either side and some plates. The number on the front of the smokebox door is a bit wonky, but all the other details on here, such as the lamp brackets, the handle, hinges and railing, look really good. Below the smokebox door we've got the buffer beam, not a huge amount of detail, but the vacuum pipe is pre-fitted and we do have sprung buffers. There are various small details that have been highlighted along the sides of the model, and the railings running the length of the boilers are suitably fine. On top, you wouldn't be able to tell that this was the tap for the water reservoir for the steam generator, and it's not obvious from looking down the chimney that there's even a smoke generator in there. Running down the boiler, there are some faint moulding lines, nothing super obvious, but occasionally they catch the light and become more noticeable. Then just in front of the cab we've got the valves and whistles, which look nice, and on top of the cab you've got double sliding vents which do actually move. Inside the cab there's a reasonable level of detail, pipework and gauges have been picked out, and the seats look really good. In the centre is the flickering firebox, and we'll take a look at that later. The glazing looks okay, but it isn't flush and you can see where it's been glued in, which is probably the main detractor from the cab area. We've also got the fine cab doors and the etched metal tender full plate. I'm not going to take the loco apart, but inside we've got the smoke generator, which is a small atomizer and uses water to create the steam effect. So there's no need for heating elements or oil-based fluids, as you might have seen in older models that include smoke generators, for example. Also inside here we've got a 5-pole motor, but as with the Black 5, I don't believe there's a flywheel. All 6 driving wheels on the loco have pickups, and so do all 8 wheels on the tender, so there should be no chance of losing connection with the rails. The rear locomotive wheels that come fitted to the model are flangeless, which enables it to go around sharper curves, but they can be replaced with a set of flange wheels that come in the accessories bag. The connection to the tender is the clip-in PCB style. And the tender is the non-corridor style, which is correct for the period being presented. It's got the early emblem on the sides. On the rear we've got the steps, railings and brackets along with the sprung buffers. On top we've got a nice full coal load, which I believe is removable. Then facing into the cab we've got some moulded detail along with handles which presumably operate the brakes and water scoops. There's also some minute printed text here too. And as I said before, all 8 wheels have pickups on here, which is great, and the tender also houses the decoder socket and speaker. It's not ideal that the sound will be coming out the tender. It would be better if the sounds were made from the loco end, but from a distance it probably won't be too noticeable. So that's an overview of the model. So far I'm very satisfied with it. Everything looks good to me, no parts have come off. It looks and feels like a good compromise between detail and robustness. So let's get it on the rolling road and see how it runs. So I've got Flying Scotsman on the rolling road and I want to fill up the steam generator. So these are the instructions that tell you how to do that. So apparently I need to remove the filler cap and then get my pipette and put 3 millilitres in there. But Derails, who I bought this from, have also sent these instructions. So, because they've said that the Hornby instructions are sort of lacking in areas. The main thing on here is that it is quite difficult to remove the filler cap apparently. So let's find out how difficult that really is. Here we go. I'll see if I can, will it just ease out? Yep, it is quite tough. I don't know. Oh, it's gone. It's just a little plug, quite easy to lose, I'd say. Yeah, tiny thing. I've only just managed to get just over 2 millilitres in there, but that will do for now, I guess. So let's get that into here. I'm meant to be careful not to get any on the model. So that's 2 millilitres in the model. Let's see if that will be enough. So let's pop the filler cap back on. Surely they could have come up with a better way of filling the model up than that tiny filler cap, because that is going to get lost. Okay, let's turn on the DCC power and see whether we can get some smoke. The other thing the Derails instructions say is that you need to have function 1 on in order for it to work. So let me connect via the HM7000 app. And I've already added it in here. So there we go, we've got Flying Scotsman. And I'm going to turn the sounds on. And we've got some smoke. Some steam. Let's get it moving and see how it looks then. And I did a bit of research and apparently we should be getting 6 chuffs per rotation because this is a 3-cylinder locomotive. So if we count them from when it gets to the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if my research is right, and we should be getting 6 chuffs per rotation, then it looks like they have managed to actually sync up the steam generator, the chuffing sounds, and the rotation of the wheels. So that is going to keep a lot of people happy. I mean, it's not normally something that bothers me if the rotation doesn't match up with the sounds, but I know it does bother a lot of people. I get a lot of comments about it. So hopefully they'll be very happy with this. I think the steam looks incredible. Zoom out a little bit here so you can see how high it's really going. It really does go up into the air. Let's turn the pace up. 50% power. Let's have a little whistle. I'd say the only observation so far is that the sound is quite tinny. I don't know what size speaker we've used. I'll have a look when I'll take the lid off the tender and see what size speaker they've used. Presumably they've used the standard HM7000 speaker, but I suppose I wonder which enclosure they've used. Maybe they could have gone with a bigger enclosure, or maybe it's the type of thing where you might want to replace it with a bigger speaker. Straight out the box this is, and it seems to be running very well. Shall we see whether it can crawl? So we'll take it down, that's stuck it on speed step 1. And I think that is very nice. That's speed step 1. Potentially could be slower. It's not the slowest crawl I've ever seen in the world. And as I said at the start, this is all sound fitted. I didn't have to install any of this. So we've got all the different sound functions: guards, whistle, flange, squeal, doors closing, the fireman's breakfast sound effect. These aren't the most high fidelity sounds that you'll get on the market, but for the cost of the decoder and the cost of the model, you know, this is half the price of an ESU lock sound. With a top-end sound profile, so you kind of got to set your expectations there. But I'm more than happy with this. I just love the steam generator. I think that is incredible. I know this is technology that's been around for a while for some people, but it's new for me, and I love it when you hear that chuff and you see the steam go up into the air. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod, get a few different angles so you can really see the effect. And then I'll let it run in on the layout for half an hour, and then we'll stick some coaches on it and have a look and see what it looks like on a layout with some coaches. As soon as I've taken it off the tripod, it stopped steaming, and it looks like the funnel is clogged. Apparently when this happens, we just need to get something just to absorb that extra moisture. So I've got some cotton buds down here. Let's see whether we can sort this out. Oh, there we go. Resolved very easily. Okay, yeah. So that is the first issue I've had with this, and it's not a big issue. So, yeah, actually really happy with this model so far. Very well done, Hornby. I found that each time I filled the reservoir, it lasted about 15 to 20 minutes. And here's the flickering firebox, which is a lovely effect and helps to illuminate the cab detail. Before running it on Little Wicket, I really wanted to take a look at the speaker enclosure that was creating a sound that I thought was a bit tinny. So I opened up the tender by removing the coupling and taking out the screw. It turns out they haven't used any of the HM7000 enclosures. The enclosure is actually built into the frame. It's very neat looking, but I don't think it's a great use of the space available. To me, it looks like rather than redesign the tender to make room for a decent sized speaker, they've just plonked something on top of the space designed for the old style round speaker. There's all this wasted space used for the socket mount that's sitting over the old circular speaker mount that could have been used to create a much bigger enclosure and therefore generate a better sound. So there we go, Hornby's brand new Flying Scotsman with TXS sound decoder and steam generator. I'm extremely happy with it, and I love the smoke generator and how they've managed to sync it up with the chuffing and the rotation of the wheels. It ran very well in my tests, and generally there's not really that much to fault with it. If I was being really picky, then they could have done a better job with the glazing in the cab, as that really lets the cab down, but you'd have to be looking pretty closely to spot it. The steam generator occasionally needs excess water soaking out of the chimney, but that's not a big issue. I still don't like that you need to remove screws to access the decoder socket, but the model came with the decoder pre-fitted, so that's not really an issue. I think the sound is let down by the speaker enclosure. They could have made better use of the space in the tender and put in a better speaker enclosure to give it a better sound. And as with most Hornby models, I think it's a bit expensive. I believe this is a nearly 20-year-old tooling that's had some new features added to it. Should it really be priced at close to £300? If you're not bothered about the new features such as the flickering firebox or steam generator, then I'm sure you can pick up an older DCC ready version for a lot less. And I've got a few questions about the steam generator that might not be easy to answer at the moment. I wonder how long the unit is designed to last. Currently it's not possible to buy a replacement from Hornby, so only time will tell what happens if they stop working. I also wonder what the long-term impact of having the model around water and water vapour will be. Most of the electronics are in the tender, so well away from the damp, and this might not be a problem. And finally, I wonder what the long-term impact of having atomised water regularly chuffed into the underside of baseboards would be as it goes through tunnels and the like. Could this potentially cause mould to grow over time or something like that? Anyway, those are future Rob's problems, and that's about it for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Special thanks to all the YouTube members and patrons for your support. It's very much appreciated and your names are on screen now. If you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will hopefully see you again soon.